Just to clarify,
That one was spicy.
So the Warriors have to play 48 minutes.
So I see this going 7. I have it. I have the Nuggets in 7.
Ant-Man, Batman, Watchmen, Lakers at 5.
Well, it's money time now.
welcome back, YouTube, to the GOATcast podcast. I am your host today, Big Nige. I got my guys to my left, to my right. Got my dog, Ron Dog, to my right. What's going on, Ron Dog? And we got the man of the hour, CW. Obviously, no camera, but how we doing today, CW?
We doing okay. Our upstairs air wants to not work, so we are not too happy with that. But life goes on.
Yes, it does. High highs and low lows. But I want to go ahead and give a shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They, of course, proved me wrong. I picked the Pacers in 7. Obviously, there's some other extraneous activities that happened that led to this championship, but I do want to give the OKC Thunder their props. You know, SGA, Finals MVP, did his thing. Steady hand, of course. Got to give J-Dub a compliment. He showed out in a lot of big games, even dropped a 40 bomb. So he, albeit that him and Chet can be a little spotty at times, they've shown that they were just enough help. They got pieces like Alex Caruso, Hartenstein, Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins. You know, all these guys contributed. They did what they're supposed to do. They captured the title. So I want to make sure all those role players get the love. You know, the depth of this roster and the depth of Indiana as well, which I'll get into in a second. We wanted to make sure, like, this is where the NBA is going. This is how teams are going to be constructed going forward because of the new CBA. So this is just kind of where the NBA is going, and this is like a precursor to where we're going. So that being said, you know, again, shout out to the Pacers. Hopefully Tyrese Halliburton gives a speedy recovery because he was on his way to making my prediction correct. Pacers in 7. He was having a very good game. But unfortunately, the basketball guys just decided not to shine on his parade like they did in every other conference finals, semis, first round. He was balling. That being said, though, you got to give the Pacers all the credit in the world. They did a really good job with this series, especially slowing down OKC, speeding them up, and just hitting big shots. So just for a quick recap, I'm going to kick it over to Ron Dog first. You know, what did you enjoy about this finals? I know both of y'all were correct. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I was wrong. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong.
Say it one more time.
It's very rare, but yes, I was wrong because my man did get hurt. But, you know, what did you like about this finals, and what did this show you about OKC and Indiana?
Well, what I loved about it showed the fire that both teams were hungry for this. Both teams' first time trying to win their first chip. Both of them were both fighting tooth and nail to get this thing. Each game, one team had the advantage over the other, but then the next game, the down team would come right back and even it up. It literally went down to which team made the least amount of mistakes in this series.
Okay. What do you got for the recap, CW? What did you feel like? What did this series show you for both teams?
Well, the main thing it showed me was I was right. So, you know,
all right. Jesus.
But what I saw on the court, I think this may be the new era of basketball. I think we're seeing teams that play unselfish. We're seeing teams that can scheme very well, teams that don't depend on one or two players, you know, is by committee. I think this was a weird finals because I could see how a casual fan would have been bored. I hated the way they stretched out the games. I thought that was terrible by Adam Silver and them. But I also think that from a basketball perspective, it was a really good series because, as Ron said, it was a back and forth. You know, it reminded me of, to a lesser extent, at 2013 Heat and Spurs finals because one team would just go off one game, and then the next game the other team would just take over, and it looked like two different teams were on the court. So I like that both teams impose their wills at times, but it also showed that Shea is on another level, I would say, and he is a bona fide superstar. So he was really the difference maker. The unfortunate injury by Tyrese Halliburton really did hurt because Indiana was playing great that first half against the OKC Thunder, but it is what it is. And OKC walked away. Am I 100% that I would take OKC next year? That's some information for a different time, but I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Didn't do great ratings wise, but I thought it was a fun uh finals.
Okay.
Sure.
I can't complain too much with what y'all are saying. I definitely agree with what both of y'all are saying on this being like the new wave for the NBA. So since you brought up Tyrese Halliburton's injury, which obviously made my prediction incorrect, let's get into it a little bit. So with this explosion of Achilles injuries, do we think the NBA needs to start considering banning low top shoes? Now, what I'm saying by this is
Mhm.
obviously Halliburton goes down in game 7. We don't know the outcome. It's going to be one of the biggest what ifs now in recent history. What would happen if he were to play that game, fully healthy? His calf strain doesn't turn into an Achilles rupture, and we go from there. But we also saw this in Jason Tatum in the second round against the New York Knicks, where they were having a pivotal game, and he goes down, and he had a calf strain as well prior to. Then we go in the first round. Said Pacers benefited from Damian Lillard. He tore his Achilles too.
Mm-hmm.
We go back even further in the beginning of the season when DeJounte Murray, he tore his Achilles. James Wiseman, Isaiah Jackson. I think another guy on Miami called Drew Smith. Didn't know his story, but I know he ruptured his Achilles. We go further back down the road, back in like 2019, where KD ruptured his Achilles after trying to come back from a calf strain he suffered earlier in the postseason. He rushes back with a calf strain, similar to what Tyrese Halliburton did. Ended up tearing his Achilles. And of course, the late great Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles as well. Albeit he's a little bit older, a little bit irrelevant to this conversation, but just giving you some historical context. So, all that being said, and I'm gonna say I think 90% of these players were wearing low top shoes when this injury occurred. So, and this is why I think we should consider banning low top shoes. Um, I also believe that calf strains should be taken more seriously in the fact that when players talk about Achilles tears, Achilles ruptures, it usually starts. It's not 100% guaranteed linked to calf strains, but it's a good indicator. Along with a lot of other things, there's a lot of early warning signs that come up, but calf strains is one of the most important things you need to take care of. Players should not be rushing back. I know it's the postseason, and I know you want to be out there, but now you could have been out for a game 7, but now instead of game 7, you're out for the entire next season. So you can't even, fight your way back for a repeat or to even defend the Eastern Conference in Indiana, right? So that's what he has to do. Tatum can't even defend the Celtics. They were a top 2 seed. They're probably going to be worse now because of it, because they try to rush back from a calf strain. So, and I know low top shoes are often associated with an increase of Achilles tendon ruptures due to the lack of ankle support. So, do I want to 100% blame the low top shoes? I don't think so, but there's definitely something there. There's something the NBA needs to take a look at. And I think it does warrant the conversation to ban the low top shoes. So I'm gonna kick it over to CW first, as I've kind of painted this picture a little bit. What do you think? Do you think the NBA should consider banning low top shoes, or do you think it's something with, from when the players play to their treatment to their rehab, what needs to change to get these players back on the court and avoid these Achilles ruptures and Achilles injuries?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because I was listening to I think Matt Barnes talk about it, and he was saying how from 1990 to 2023 there was only 45 Achilles tears in those years. Um, so with that said, that's less than one. Uh, that's what 33 years ago. So that's less than one player getting an Achilles tear a year. So the fact that it's been so infrequent and now it's kind of rearing its head. Is it the shoe or is it more of the style of play? Like you look at guys and they're, the lateral movement, the way they're moving, they're dribbling, they got their legs kind of wide and they're trying to shift here, they're trying to angle here. I'm going to say it's more of that, like the style of play now, because you're trying to move so quickly and they're trying to use certain footwork, which those low tops don't help. The fact that you're trying to move and so quickly, those guys, and they're doing it in a way that you don't have the support on your ankle. And it's just such quick movements that, yeah, that's going to happen. And plus, it could also be that players are playing hurt some. They're having the calf injuries. They may not report them. They may just try to play through them. They may think it's just nothing. It's just a little sore or whatever. But you overcompensate when you try to play like that. And of course, this is what leads to that. So I'm not quite sure because we got to think about it. Back in the early 80s, I think 70s, they were wearing Chuck Taylors. So which have zero support. I used to have some. Those things have no support at all. And you just didn't see that level of injury even back then. I know the game was probably a little slower back then, but I don't know if you can contribute it to the shoe as much as the style of play and the way, especially these guards and these wings play, because they're trying to move so quickly. And we talk about defense a lot, but these defenders are in them, so they've got to try to make moves to get away from those defenders. And sometimes that's going to lead to, movement that might not be natural, movement that might, give them tear, tear their Achilles. So I think it's more of style of play than it is shoe, but the shoes don't help. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Ron Dog, what do you got? Do you think the NBA should be banning low top shoes, or do you think they should be changing something up with their routine treatment? What do you got?
Well, I'm gonna agree with Chuck on this. It's the way that the player's moving in them, because like really like the NBA will let you wear most shoes. I think it's really
Mhm.
their shoe companies they're with that wants them to wear that certain style to show off the shoe and have people get more sales with it. Because not a lot of those companies really have a shoe that supports the ankle. They'll usually have the low top ones because they think they look better. But also, yeah, their routine. They need to make sure they're stretched and good before each game, and then if they have a history of weak ankles, just make sure that they get a wrap up their ankle before the games or something. Try to take a little bit of precaution just to make sure that you don't have the unfortunate stuff that happened this playoff series.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely hear what both of y'all are saying. Um, yeah, to what extent the NBA? I know that I've already seen a couple articles out there saying that the NBA is investigating this, considering this is happening now on the biggest stage. Obviously, hit happening in the regular season. Don't think the NBA would bat an eye, but it's because now it's impacting the postseason. Their big moneymaker. It's definitely worth another consideration. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what they do because I definitely think something needs to be done. But to what extent, I don't know. I don't see them banning low tops, although it would be, like I said, it would be worth a discussion or changing up some kind of like shoe test. Maybe your shoes need to be a certain rigidity or something that would inhibit more or enhance the support for the, tendon area. Just something that needs to change because clearly we don't want these players missing this amount of extended period of time. We want them back with their teams and back on the floor so we can see them perform and things of that nature. So we're going to pivot back onto a more positive light of the NBA.
Hey, real quick.
Huh?
I just want to say, do y'all think the body type of a lot of these players kind of lends some of it because they are very light, and with no support with the they don't have a lot of protection around that area because they're not players in the past were kind of thick, some of those guys, and the fact that they're more lean now for the so that they can move more, they can move quicker. Do you think any of that has anything to do with it, or is that just the changing of times as far as player body types?
I mean, it could play a factor. It could. It just depends on if they're used to moving like that, or or like if they've had a recent hurt hurt ankle or something and still trying to move like that. That's not a very
Yeah.
good option to move with it slightly hurt.
I don't know if body type plays that much of a factor. Like from what I've seen so far, I mean, you got someone as skinny and wiry as KD, somebody small but compact like Lillard. You got guys like DeMarcus Cousins, he's a heavier set guy up top, kind of skinny in the legs. James Wiseman's kind of same way. He's a little bit more on the skinnier side as well. So I've kind of seen it in a multitude of different body types. To simply say it's like a certain body type or over the other, but I don't know if I would go there, but it's definitely something to look at. I mean, you got KD as well, very tall, skinny, wiry frame, like, so it's just kind of, it's a range to me.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I know you were transitioning to your next next point.
Oh no, all good. The next point I was getting to on that more positive note was, now that we have talked about OKC in that light, now does this chip mean that OKC is a future dynasty? Right. So just a little bit of a precursor before I kick this over to CW. So obviously OKC just won. They won in a 7-game series. They showed, extremely high efficiency on the defensive end. Obviously, we saw what SGA did for the team. J-Dub came into his own right. Chet's only going to get better. J-Dub's only going to get better. There's not really anything J-Dub or he can't really do on the defensive end. Very versatile, can guard basically 1 through 5, which we've seen in the regular season. Right. So you have your top 3 dogs. Then you still got Alex Caruso. Still got Case and Wallace. Still got Hartenstein. So you still got the double big lineup. And like I said, like Chet's only going to get better because he's shown some flaws in the finals and some of this postseason. But I think we've seen enough from this core for this to warrant a discussion of, do we think, being as young as they are, is this a future dynasty?
Well, how do we describe dynasties? Do they have to go back to back, or just be in title contention for multiple years?
I'm saying go back to back.
Go back to back.
Can they go back to back, or can they win the next, let's say 3? I'm not gonna say 3 in a row, but like maybe 3 out of the next 4 or 5 championships.
Oof, it's gonna be tough. So in that regard, I'll say no, because I don't think they can keep their core like they want to. Probably, I think, as we're seeing now with Boston, the teams, get these guys, they get good, they want to get paid. So you don't want to hit that apron, and owners don't want to have to pay that extra money. They don't want to be docked that much pay. So they try to make movements. They try to make deals that might have a guy that kind of fits that role, but isn't that same exact player. But yeah, I don't think they can do it. I think, but one thing I think they can do, I'll say this: I think they can go back to back, because I think next year is not going to be the greatest year for some of the more contender type teams because of all the injuries we just talked about. So I think if any team should be the favorite next year, it should be them, and I think they can go back to back. But I think after going back to back, that's it for them. So no dynasty.
you just think teams will like adjust to them better, or do you think like with
I just
with the
think,
new CBA and them paying more players, they won't be able to retain a
yeah,
lot of that depth that they have right now?
yeah, but the good thing for them is they have so much draft capital that even if they lose one of those core guys, they're not going to use SGA or probably Jalen Williams. But if they lose, Chet or somebody else, they have a means to trade for a guy that's similar to Chet that they can bring in for, probably not for much less, but for the price they want, basically. So I think with that, they're good. But I just think the way things are going right now, I don't see teams being able to just repeat, because even if they're young, I just think there's going to be more movement, and there's going to be teams that'll, figure out how to combat what they do well. And, I think each year is going to be kind of wide open, as we've seen these last couple of years.
Okay. What do you got, Ron Dog? Do you think this OKC team is a future dynasty?
They could be because SGA he's going to get his money, but probably if Chet and Jay Wills take some pay cuts to help better the team, they could have multiple championship runs. But that also depends how other teams get better and just adjust to them.
Okay. Like, and there's another team that's going to be coming up soon that just made a big trade. But okay, I don't, because I know you have to also consider like there's a bit of luck that goes into these championships. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what if Aaron Gordon doesn't get that hamstring injury in Game 7? Are we still looking at
Exactly.
OKC the same? Do they still beat Denver in 7 games? I don't know. One thing we'll never find out. What if Julius Randle doesn't wet the bed against OKC? Is that a more compelling series? I don't know. Or if you know Steph Curry didn't go down against the Timberwolves, I think we would have probably picked them to beat them. And then would this version of OKC beat that version of Golden State? We don't know. But I think it's safe to say that they have a good chance of going back to back. But after that, it's really tough to three-peat. So we'll have to wait and see. But they will be led by their man SGA. So now I have to ask you guys another question.
Oh yeah.
And,
Okay.
and that next question is going to be: is SGA the best point guard in the league? Now, I'm not going to really make too much of a case for SGA because again, his game basically speaks for itself. But the guys who were in contention prior to him winning a championship: Luka Doncic, SGA, Steph Curry, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, and then I'm gonna throw Trae Young's name in the hat because he shouldn't be forgotten, even though he's wasting away in Atlanta. Does this chip make SGA the best point guard in the league?
Can I go first? Because I got to drop off in a second.
Go ahead.
Yes. I'm not going to go long with it, but yes, he's the best point guard. I really think it's between him, Brunson, and I'm going to say Tyrese. After his playoff performance, I wouldn't have said that going into the playoffs, but out of those three, I think SGA is the best. Now, does he play the best point guard style that I'm used to? Since I'm old school, I believe point guards are more pass first kind of players. In that case, I would say Tyrese is probably better. But yeah, I'm going to say SGA is the best point guard. Ooh, Cade is better than Ty.
What you think about what King Speech said? Cade over Tyrese? Question mark?
Not after these playoffs, I say no.
Uh,
I say no, not after these playoffs.
you don't
Tyrese
think
is
if
streaky.
Cade was on that team, you don't think it's different
No.
outcome if Cade's on that Pacers team?
I think Tyrese is perfect for what they have in Indiana. I think Cade would take more shots than Tyrese does. Tyrese, I'll give him this. He picks his spots to take his shots very well, I thought, from these playoffs. And I think that's what helped them win a lot of times, because he didn't try to shoot them out the games. He took his foot off the pedal, let the other guys cook, and then fourth quarter was his time to do what he needed to do. So I got Tyrese over Cade right now.
Okay. I ain't gonna fight you right now. What do you got, Ron Dog? You think SGA is the best point guard in the league right now?
Winning a chip, gives you an edge, but I wouldn't put him as the best. Maybe top 3 for sure, because I think Tyrese, he's a better playmaker, helps his team. Luka Doncic also a really good playmaker, and he can also get a bucket if need to. It
So
just
okay.
we have to see him do more than just scoring, in my opinion. If he did more than just scoring, yeah, he could be the best point guard, but he just hasn't stepped into that role of trying to facilitate and get his guys more involved. You know how like Tyrese does.
Yeah, he's more of a modern point guard instead of a traditional point guard, I'll
Yeah,
say.
But he defends better than everybody I listed.
true.
You don't give him
That's
that
why,
edge.
I mean
He
that's
has
why
that edge. Yeah,
yeah.
So I mean, if he's as prolific of a scorer as all the people I listed, and he's by far the best defender by everybody I listed, how would that not garner him the best point guard in the league? Even though we're not calling him a traditional point guard, but
Mhm.
since he plays the point guard, I believe he is the best point guard in the league. So who would you put ahead of him if you say he's top 3? Who would you put ahead of him?
I
Curious.
have I have Tyrese and Luca.
You got
Mm.
Hallie over him?
Mm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, he did his thing. He did his thing this playoff, so I can see why some would move him up the ladder
Over Shea?
Yeah,
over Shea. Shea plays like a point. I mean, Shea's. Let's be real. Him, Cade, to a lesser extent, Jalen Brunson. They're combo guards. They're not really. They play somewhat more like shooting guards than they do point guards for the most part. But the best pure point guard, I'll go with Ron for that. It is Tyrese Halliburton.
I'm not
And
I'm not
Luka to me is kind
disagreeing.
of
Point
combo.
guard. I'm just saying the best his position is point guard. Therefore, no matter what he plays like, he is still point guard. Not the best playmaker, not the best passer. Best point guard in the league. Gotta be SGA.
Okay.
Gotta be.
I mean, so you felt that way with Steph then when he was doing his thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was either him or Kyrie, depending
He
on the
wasn't
season.
defending though. He wasn't defending nobody.
Neither was Kyrie
So it was just between them two during that.
during that stretch. Yeah, like from like 2016 to like I don't know 2019, 2019 or so. I think it was between those two and everybody else. John Wall threw his name in the hat of I think in that 2017 season as well, but he wasn't like
John
those
Wall.
Yeah, he was. I'm saying he was in discussion, but it was really Kyrie or Steph, mainly Steph.
Okay,
but okay. Now that where I see where y'all have SGA and in the point guard position, and probably don't need to even ask this next question, but I'm gonna do it in the respect that we did the same thing for Jaylen Brown last year when he won Finals MVP.
Oh yeah,
and the whole big question was, he's the Finals MVP, just won the championship.
Yeah.
Is he now the best player in the world?
top 5.
All right, he got top 5. What you got, CW?
He's absolutely not the best player in the world, and that's because two guys are still in the NBA and are still in their primes. Giannis and Nikola Jokic are still better than SGA overall.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, I mean, you just think about it. You give Jokic or Giannis that OKC team, and they substitute Shea, they're not having the same issues with Indiana. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. That's
My
interesting.
only thing to that is then who would be guarding the point guard for the Thunder? Would they put Alex Caruso at the point to guard the guard then?
They can put Lou Dort for stretches.
J-Dub, Lou Dort,
Yeah.
Casey Wallace. They got plenty of people to guard the ball. I ain't worried about that.
Yeah.
It's, Just
Yeah,
just
and
interesting.
with a facilitator like Jokic
Mhm.
and them guys, some of them Dort gonna average about 15, 16, 17 points.
On all
He,
open corner threes because they ain't gonna guard him.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that's
But
the only bad thing about the. He has to hit consistently. That's the only thing he struggled with really this year. Defense was
yeah.
great though.
Yeah, no
So
argument
unfortunately,
there.
I got to drop off, guys. But
Okay.
great show so far. Thank you guys for showing up. Appreciate you guys.
Sir. Peace out, C Dub. We will keep this gravy train moving along. So since y'all have already seen me and CW's reaction to the KD trade, I have to now get my man Ron Dog's reaction, considering this Spurs fan right here was telling me he was going to
Yo,
get Kevin Durant. So I want
I
to know, how
said
do you
that.
feel about him going to Houston?
I said that we were favorites to get him.
Well, let's see. We saw how that worked out, but in all honesty, how do you feel about this trade with
Um,
Phoenix and Houston getting Kevin Durant?
um, for him personally, that's a good trade. For him to go there because they got great defense. They have a decent offense. They just need a star to take over at certain points because once they start to double him, he can look he can look at them to get these buckets to make him not double him no more. So yeah, that's a good move for him. For the Suns, I mean, I think they're gonna get rid of Green. I've heard rumors about them wanting to reroute Green, so he's probably just gonna get shipped off somewhere else.
Okay.
Especially after his playoffs, there's a lot of bad juju with him right now because they saw him fold during the playoffs. But it was his first actual. But with as long as he's been in the league, he needs to do more than 5-10 points certain games.
No, I agree. I was definitely right there with the whole Jalen Green poo poo train because he definitely folded.
I
So
think they're happy to get rid of Brooks too because Brooks brings a lot of bad news.
you really you think so?
Yeah,
I mean,
because Dylan Brooks is just a younger version of Green without the playmaking. He'll
oh,
get texts. He'll get refs to not like him, wanting to call stuff not his way.
are you talking about Draymond Green?
Yeah.
Okay. I still disagree, but go ahead, continue.
Okay.
Continue.
But yeah, because also at times, during that playoff series, he played good defense, but he could only score maybe just a little bit better than Green. Not by
I mean,
much, but a little.
he a 3-and-D wing. I mean, you ain't asking him to put the ball on the floor and go get you
Yeah.
20, 25 or nothing like that. He's there to pick you up full court,
Yep.
ruffle some feathers and hit a couple shots, here and there.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with your assessment with the trade. I mean, I'm not even sure where, if they do reroute him, I don't even know where he would go. Like, I don't even know, like, off the top of my head, of like a contending team that would like really use him. I mean, maybe you could say Milwaukee, but like then again,
Maybe.
he doesn't shoot
I
the ball that
mean
well.
that. I mean, really, they probably won't send him to a contending team. If he's fortunate, they'll probably drop him off with the Blazers or something.
I mean, you got him to replace another guy who got moved out, Anthony Simons. I mean,
Yep.
it could work. I mean, their games are similar, but I think Jalen Green's obviously a better athlete.
Yes.
And I think his game's a little bit more. No, I can't even say that. I think Anthony Simons' game's a little bit more polished offensively.
I
But I
think he has
think
better defense than Green does too.
eh, both of them aren't really the greatest at the end, so I'm not going to fight you for it. I don't know. I think Jalen Green might be a slightly better defender, and I think he's a little bit underrated on that side, but definitely not a good defender by no stretch. But yeah, that's interesting. So with the KD trade, do you see Houston now as the biggest, um, competition to OKC repeating?
Well, I think people are going to see Houston as a little bit bigger threat since they got a top scorer in Kevin Durant. Because in I think Durant's last 9 or so years, he's never shot. He never went under 50% from the field.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you think they have the biggest chance to take out OKC and prevent them from repeating
Uh,
as currently constructed?
it just depends. If they can get the offense flowing, because that's what stopped them during the playoffs. Their offense was stagnant at times. If they can get the offense flowing and keep the defensive pressure that they had last year, I I think that I think it'd be a good fight to see. You definitely would want to see it. I ain't picking which one would win because I couldn't even guess that one. I couldn't, because both teams have good defense, and then at this moment in time, because we haven't seen what Durant is in that offense, OKC has the better offense right now.
They also re-signed Steady Freddie, 2-year, 50 mil extension.
Yes, they
Shout out
did.
Steady Freddie. He played really good in the postseason,
He is a
and
decent defender and also can get you buckets and spurts moments.
so yeah. Overall, I say really good for Houston. More toward the short term as well, but you know, wonder where Jalen Green's going to go, and I think Dylan Brooks does fit that Phoenix, the new culture that Phoenix is trying to build, being more gritty. Being a hard nosed defender. Um, they just need to really focus on that center position, get a foundational
Mhm.
piece because I don't think Nick Richards is that guy.
Yeah.
Um, and continue. And for the love of God, please, if Bradley Bill will waive his no trade clause, they will trade him in a heartbeat. So work with him this offseason and find him a place because Jesus, man, that's a lot of money for not that good of production.
Yeah.
Anyway, so sticking with Kevin Durant and his greatness, do you believe a chip with Houston will outweigh the 2 chips that he had with Golden State? Do you think that's going to be a legacy defining ring for his career? Or do you think people are going to look at Kevin Durant the same no matter what, no matter if he won this championship with Houston or not, and he'll always just be, a bucket getter, but maybe not like, I don't know, top 10 on nobody's list, maybe top 15 on somebody's list. Like he'll never reach that status like other players have the potential to.
I think with the Houston Rockets, that'd be his best ring throughout his whole career. Because if he wins with that squad, he can't say, "Oh no, you had the greatest shooters with you." That's why. Because on the Rockets, Kevin Durant would be that man. That's his team. It don't matter how long those guys have been there. He is the best player on that team. He is their only superstar, and then basically he can get a bucket at any moment in time throughout the game for them. So yeah, if he gets one with the Houston Rockets, that's going to be his greatest ring of his career.
Now, if we're talking about all-time small forwards, do
Mm.
you think a third ring will bring him up past like maybe a Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen? I don't think most people would say he'd be better than LeBron, so I'm just going to leave LeBron out of
Yeah.
it. But do you think another ring would have him as maybe the second greatest small forward of all time?
There's a lot of people that's not going to give him that just on the fact that Larry didn't leave the Celtics. And Larry was that guy, but Kevin Durant is a better scorer than he is.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just processing as I'm listening. I'm processing.
Yeah, I
Larry Bird
mean,
was that dude, man. Like, and
he
I'm
was
not gonna
that
say
dude.
obviously Kevin Durant is all world, like probably one of the greatest scorers I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. So I'm with you. It's just hearing
He's
it.
also gonna be the better scorer because back then the '80s whenever Bird played, they were they were a lot tougher than what they are now. Those guys pushed around. Those guys fought just about every night.
Ooh, and King Speech got a cook it in the chat saying Bird over KD no matter what happens. Wow. I mean, dang. I mean,
Yeah, see,
I see the point he's making though, because I mean, Bird has a
like I said,
really,
most people won't let Bird go under KD.
I mean, and that's fair. It's definitely
It's
debatable,
fair.
and it might be something that we might end up plugging on this channel when we do our, another one of our GOAT debate segments. Which stay tuned
Just
for
gotta
that
make
because
sure we just make sure a Celtics fan ain't in here because it is not going to be biased at all.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I
Yeah.
mean, and maybe we'll get him in here to debate somebody. I mean, I wouldn't mind sitting across from him and debating that. It'd be a daunting task for sure though, because Kevin Durant, those 2 rings in Golden State didn't really do him any favors in a lot of people's eyes.
No,
So
I didn't.
to make that argument, especially against Larry Bird, yeah, it'd be tough, but possible. So again, we might end up plugging that debate on the the GOAT debates, and be on the lookout for that GOAT debate between me and CW. Not gonna spoil the topic, but there is a one that's going to be surfacing sometime soon, so be on the lookout for that. And you might even see KD versus Bird. You might see me and Ron do it. You might see 2 other people do it. I don't know, but be on the lookout for that. Um, so, and as far as for me, I mean, would those 2 championships? I think obviously I believe the Houston would outweigh the Warriors one,
Yeah.
similar to how like when LeBron won one in Cleveland, I think it eclipsed the 2 he won in Miami. For very similar reasons of joining a really good team, or excuse me, they're a little different, but for the sake of time and arguments, you know, he went to Miami, got the 2 there, still pales in comparison to the one he got in Cleveland. And I think
Yeah.
Houston for Kevin Durant would be the same exact way. Um, as far as all time status, I won't like sit here and debate that, but it will definitely move him higher on my all time list. But in terms of small forwards, I don't know if it really moves the needle for me personally. I'd have to go back and really look and see not only could he win a championship, but how does his stats look? Is he going to play, 40 games next season? Is he going to play 60
Yeah.
games next season? Like all those things to me will, help sway my argument as time goes on. But like as
Yeah.
currently constructed with the 2 chips he has, obviously he's not moving nowhere. So
Yeah.
we'll see what he does in Houston. We'll see, can he knock out his former team in OKC? Should they match up? And he's got a good coaching staff over there in Houston. So we're gonna see with Ime Udoka. So now that we've discussed KD and we have a couple trades, this is going to be a segment just kind of free flowing some of the trades that kind of have happened because obviously we do this show every week. We're not going to be doing trade updates every day, so we're going to try to encompass all of them here, give our quick thoughts on those before we wrap things up tonight. So I'm going to pull up the first trade that I can find, and that trade will be I guess we can start there with the Anthony Simons one, since we did kind of touch on that briefly.
Yeah.
But essentially, it will be Drew Holiday going to Portland for Anthony Simons and a 2nd-round pick. No, 2 second-round picks. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So Drew Holiday goes back to the Trailblazers again, and Anthony Simons goes to the Celtics on a cheaper deal and an expiring contract, might I add. So I'll kick this over to you first. For the Trailblazer side of things, do you believe they will keep Drew Holiday and have him mentor the young guards on the team, like a Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, those guys, or do they buy him out again because he may or may not fit this young nucleus for him to go test free agent waters and go to another team like maybe like a Dallas Mavericks? I don't know. Where do you see him going for the Portland side of things?
They're probably going to buy him out because he's already expressed concerns online that he does not want to play with Portland. There has
Okay.
been even people who've talked about it in the media that he does not want to be in Portland. He just doesn't want to play there. So Portland's probably going to buy him out on unless they just want to be mean about it and just keep him, which I doubt they'll do because they both don't gel together.
Okay. I could see a scenario where both, like I could see Portland keeping him seeing that they are probably one of the best defensive teams going into the second half of last season. Um, and obviously a guy like Drew Holiday would help that.
Right.
And with the West being kind of up and down, you never know. I'm not going to say they can compete for a playing spot because I think a lot of teams have gotten better or are going to take another step ahead of them, but they are on the come up. But more specifically, I think Drew Holiday does get bought out. I don't think his timeline matches their timeline because I think he's a win now player. You can put him on a lot of contending teams. He can do exactly what you need to do. Pick you up 94 feet, get key stops, hit occasional shots. Albeit this past season in Boston, he was making a crap ton of money, and he probably one of his worst statistical seasons in his career. So obviously making that much money and getting not the production that you want from him, plus him dealing with injuries, I can understand why for Boston, getting rid of him, getting away from that second apron, same way how they're doing another trade with Kristaps Porzingis, we'll talk about in a second. But yes, so I think he gets bought out. I think a team like Dallas could really use his services. I know they're in the market
That's
for
what.
a backup
True.
defensive point guard that fits their defensive culture. Shout out Nico. But yeah, I think he goes to a team like Dallas, to be honest, because they're even clearing money up for when they re-signed Kyrie, gave him a shorter. They could have gave him a little bit more money, but I think they agreed to kind of like shave some of that money so that they could go get that backup point guard while Kyrie is out. So I think this is a good trade, obviously for the Celtics as well. You get a very polished offensive player, still not a very good defender in Anthony Simons, but you also get 2 second-round picks, so you get draft capital, and you get a young player who you can maybe roll the dice on. Maybe he can be a cornerstone piece for you guys moving forward. He is younger. He's very athletic, and Joe Mazzulla is probably going to have him shooting twice as many threes as he was shooting in Portland. So, and he's a really solid three-point shooter.
Along with what you said about his defense, the Celtics really play a switch type of defense. If a guard drives on them, they'll usually have a big slip down and then they'll shoot out to the shooting big usually. At least that's what I saw them play this year.
What do you think? What do you think? King's speech, Portland making the playoffs. Heard it here first. And
if Portland makes the playoffs, that'd be the biggest dark horse of the season.
I mean, and then another question was, if they make the playoffs, who would they then replace? And I'm pulling up the standings right now because you got obviously the Thunder aren't going nowhere. Houston just got better. The Lakers, another year of Luka, getting a training camp under Luka. I don't see them bouncing anytime soon.
Yeah.
The Nuggets are a wild card, depending on what they want to do with Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, whatever else.
I think the Clippers are fine too.
Clippers are probably good where they're at. Also, another Game 7 from Harden might melt somebody's eyeballs. Timberwolves, I think they're pretty solid, albeit they have some concerns as well. The Warriors, they got another year with
I think the
Jimmy
Grizzlies
Butler.
would drop out.
The Grizzlies could. I mean, they were the 8th seed because of the playing situation, obviously. But you got the Mavs who took a step up. Although
Yes.
Kyrie is going to be out for most of the season, if not all of it. I think just most of it. So you have them potentially going up or down. Maybe Cooper Flag can come in and save the day. I don't know.
Maybe.
And then you got Sacramento. So
I mean, the
think
Grizzlies
the Suns got
did
worse,
just lose
so-
their best 3-point shooter.
I mean, and the Spurs got better. So
Spurs did get better.
I mean, like, could any of these
If
teams
Wemby
drop?
wasn't hurt the last 2 months, maybe the Spurs got the play-in spot. Maybe. I'm not saying 100%, but it could have happened. Because Fox and Wemby both went out the last month or two of the season. And those are 2 big players for them.
Okay. I don't see the Blazers making the playoffs. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. I still think the West is just supremely too good. But comparing them to last year or to this year's Detroit Pistons team might not be a bad thing, considering both of those teams are very good defensively, especially if Portland continues to ascend on that side. Which, if they can just get their offense to catch up with their defense, they might be in a really good spot. So playoffs, no. Up and coming, definitely.
Yeah.
So the next trade I was looking at was, let's go ahead and talk about the Porzingis trade.
Mhm.
Again, Boston is trying to get out of the second apron. You move off of your two biggest contracts, and I'm not going to say two biggest disappointments because I'm not going to go there. But Kristaps, always hurt, never available, and was basically giving you nothing this postseason. So it's a 3-team trade with Boston, Atlanta, and Brooklyn, where Kristaps and a second-round pick go to the Hawks. Terrence Mann and Atlanta's 22nd pick go to the Nets, and Niang and a second rounder goes to the Celtics. So the Celtics get more draft capital. They get a C tier player in Niang. Terrence Mann, a young player, goes to Brooklyn. Kind of fits with that young core they're trying to build over there, or whatever they're trying to build over there in Brooklyn. And then Trae Young gets a center, a pick and pop center in Kristaps Porzingis, who may or may not be on the floor with him.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this trade?
The only thing that I'm concerned about is who is the Celtics center, because they haven't re-signed Al yet, if they will. So that center position is kind of vacant right now. It's kind of iffy because they went from having a center during the regular season who could get boards, get buckets, block, pass out, to now just very unsure. Hawks with getting Kristoff though helps them if he plays. Helps him if he plays, and then Nets have a lot of picks in the draft tonight, so we'll have to watch that and see if they get something that could hopefully give them a little spark to try to be better than what they have the last couple of years. Because if I'm not mistaken, they got, was it the 8th, 19th, 22nd, 26th, and 27th pick in a tonight's draft. So that's a lot of picks to get good players to try and help their team make a little bit better record than last year.
Definitely, it's just interesting to see kind of what they're going to do. Because I mean, I don't follow Brooklyn that close, and without looking
Me either,
looking into
yeah.
them right now, I just know they're trying to build for a better future.
Uh-huh.
So kudos to them getting this pick and getting a solid defensive piece in Terrence Mann, who again
Yeah.
fits their young core and their young timeline. Um, so for Atlanta's side of things, I mean, the potential is there. Having a stretch five big, honestly, might even been his might be Trae Young's first stretch five big because he's either had Capella or what's his face, Larry Nance Jr. And then he's also had Onyeka Okongwu, which he's been able to shoot the three a little bit this season, and he did it a little bit in the play-in tournament against the Heat. But again, a knockdown shooter when Kristaps is on, yes, a knockdown five can play defense. 7'2", not the best rebounder, but solid pick and popper. So the potential is there,
Uh-huh.
especially when you have, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, and Risa Shea, all 6'8", 6'9", wiry frame dudes. You have some defensive potential there to go along with hopefully what you can get of the best of Kristaps Porzingis.
Uh-huh.
Um, so could spell for even a potential uprise in Atlanta, and maybe they are in for the playoffs because the East has fallen apart. So if
I think
Atlanta
they
can
can
stay
make the play
healthy,
in.
they can definitely make the
Yeah.
playoffs. So that's good for them. Although I thought the direction they were going was Onyeka Kong was going to be like their center, like going forward, but maybe this postseason showed them a different
Yeah.
um outlook on things, and maybe he's better as a backup big to a guy like Kristaps Porzingis. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, if Kristaps goes down, at least Onyeka Okongwu could still be there, starting five for the
Uh-huh.
foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So other than that one, let's go to the Pelicans trading CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second round pick to the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and the number 40th pick. What are your thoughts for this trade?
I think CJ was glad to get out of there because really that team, that New Orleans team, last couple years, they actually were supposed to be doing something, but Zion's hurt, doesn't play for 3 quarters of the season, and if Zion played, he could be the difference maker on on that team. But with CJ going to the Wizards with Kelly Olynyk, I can see them trying to cook something up now because they got Marcus Smart. They got Chris Middleton, maybe, because he is doing his player option. So
Mhm.
it's iffy for him. And then have Kelly Olynyk start at the 5 with maybe Alex Starr at the 4. I mean, they could have a decent team. I'm not saying that they're going to make the play or nothing, but definitely a lot better than what they did because they ain't got the shot chucker and Jordan Poole no more. They could probably actually run offense.
I mean, I think Jordan Poole, to his defense, before I get into the trade, I'll say that his first year there was probably like statistically, like I think one of the worst seasons in NBA history. But I think he reined himself in this season, even was a little bit more efficient. He's shown a little bit more growth in that second stint or second year with the Wizards, but obviously he wasn't the player that everyone thought he was. Being the number one option, being the
Mm-hmm.
cornerstone piece, he just wasn't ready for that. So to get into the trade, him going to a team like the Pelicans, who are in desperate need, I still think they need a playmaking guard. I don't really think they need a shot first guard in Jordan Poole. He's
Yeah.
shown flashes that he can definitely pass the ball, but he's not a willing passer. So I don't know, other than the age, the fit on this roster. I mean, you have, but potentially, if you get the best of him, you got
Mm-hmm.
him, Herb Jones, uh, Trey Murphy the third. You got Zion, and then I forgot. I don't even know who the heck who's the center again. Was there?
I have no idea.
I don't even remember who the heck their center was.
I
But
think the reason why though that they went to get Poole because they are banking it on whenever Murray comes back from his injury that he's going to be that playmaking guard to get Poole open at his spots.
yeah, I mean that could be something for sure. Um, so I guess we'll see how that shakes out for them. Um, but I think going younger is definitely better in this
Yeah.
situation. And this fits the Zion Williamson timeline as well, considering you still have him and you
Mm-hmm.
can get him to get some sort of consistency on the floor. But for the Wizards side of things, I'm kind of liking what they're doing over there. I mean, you're
Looks
getting
like they're
more
cooking
veteran,
something up.
right? Like you're getting CJ McCollum, you got Chris Middleton. I mean, Marcus Smart's a vet in this league, but you also still got your like Bilal, that long lanky point guard and his defensive acumen. Still
Mm-hmm.
got Alex Sarr. Obviously, bringing in Kelly Olynyk doesn't hurt. I don't think he's a needle mover by no stretch of the imagination, but a
He
solid
can
guy
give you
nonetheless.
like a couple open threes though.
And so I like the combination of vets and young stars in what the direction they're at least going or trying to go to for Washington. So I think both teams got exactly what they wanted out of this. I think the Wizards got more experience, and I think the Pelicans got younger. So
Mm-hmm.
that was good for them. I think W
Yeah.
trade for both sides, and I think that's the last. Yeah, I think that was the
Yeah.
last of it. Honestly, yeah, that was the last
I
trade. That
think our one friend saying that Jordan Poole was the next Steph Curry didn't age too well.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean he showed flashes. To be fair, though, it's not like he just
He did.
was. He was a one
Yes,
trick
he
pony.
did.
Like he was hooping back in Golden State, but that was when he was like the third
Third option.
third option, sometimes second option, but mainly third option.
Mhm.
So you know, but I think that's going to wrap it up for today's show. I mean, we
Yep.
we hit about that hour mark that we were supposed to do. Um,
Yep.
appreciate King's speech pulling up in the chat. Obviously, Goat Cast Hoops. We know who you are. Appreciate you pulling up as well. And I want to say there's a couple more, like Derby Entertainment. Appreciate you for pulling up, weighing in the comment section. 19 Media Group. Appreciate you for pulling up as well. Obviously, appreciate Ron Dog for pulling up too,
Yep.
making this show lit. Unfortunately, the Pacers didn't get it done. But again, shout out to OKC, shout out to SGA. Got y'all's first championship ring. I'm sure it's looking pretty over there for y'all.
Big
And
West.
hopefully this draft tonight, if y'all haven't tuned in, it'll be starting, I think, 8 o'clock Eastern. So go ahead, check out the draft, see what your favorite team is cooking up in this draft. Cooper Flag is hopefully going to be a Dallas Maverick, so we can talk about that.
Spurs, the second pick.
If Dallas fumbles that, the world is going to burn over. I don't know. There's just no way they can fumble that. But as always, though, appreciate everybody for pulling up to the stream. You got any other thing out before I close this out?
No, not really. That's it.
All right. Everybody stay tuned for the GOAT debates. We will be dropping it sometime very soon. You'll see me and CW debate a very high-spirited topic. So be on the lookout for that. And as always, catch y'all on the next one. Love.